Hello, I'm Movie Hanger, and this is the movie Brain Freeze. All the people on an island in Canada suddenly turned green and became zombies. 99% watch me without subscribing. Please correct this by subscribing to me. And now, let's move on to the movie. In the middle of the night, a group of people in protective suits spray the grass on a huge lawn with some strange solution. The radio host announces that there is an elite golf club in the city. Its owner highly values his wealthy visitors, but winter is approaching, and the grass on the field will perish, which means people won't be able to play their favorite game. At the same time, we meet a guy named Andre. He's an ordinary high school student who constantly listens to music. He returns home from school and greets the nanny and his younger sister Annie. Mom is delayed at work, so after the nanny leaves, Andre has to take care of his sister himself. He's not very good at it, and the little girl constantly cries. We also meet another character in this story, a policeman named Dan, who constantly calls his daughter Patricia. He comes home and tries to entertain himself somehow. It turns out that Pat has a boyfriend now, so she hardly ever comes home. While the father and daughter chat in the car on their way to work, a bright peacock with a huge tail steps onto the road. Fortunately, they manage to brake in time. Dan looks thoughtfully at the bright green golf course. A luxurious black limousine pulls up, and a blonde woman with a dog and a gray-haired man step out. It seems they are some of those rich people who love golf. The gray-haired man starts playing, and we see that Pat also works at this golf club. We also notice that the structure of the grass on this lawn has completely changed. Its cells are behaving very strangely. In the morning, Andre's mom goes to work again, and he has to look after his sister again. He is engrossed in his phone, and at that moment, the little girl almost overturns the huge TV screen onto herself. Fortunately, tragedy is avoided. After this, Andre has to change his sister's diaper. One of the locals drinks a glass of water from the tap and heads to the supermarket. He notices that he feels unwell, but then everything seems to return to normal. The man visits his girlfriend named Amanda. Suddenly, something strange starts happening to him. He turns into a zombie, goes to the bathroom, and attacks Amanda. Soon, their eyes turn bright green. The owner of the golf club tells the wealthy guests that he has solved the problem of cooling. With the help of a unique fertilizer, he has managed to create genetically modified grass that grows year-round. At that moment, a group of zombies rushes out of the building and attacks the other people. The blonde woman's dog also turns into a zombie and attacks its owner. With each passing second, their numbers increase. The owner of the golf club grabs a knife and tries to hide. Meanwhile, Dan is called by a sweet woman with bright rollers in her hair. She complains that her neighbors are making too much noise. Dan knocks on the door, but no one answers. At that moment, the woman with rollers also turns into a zombie and attacks Dan. The policeman manages to lock himself in his car and calls for backup, but no one responds. Dan calls his daughter and tells her something strange is happening. Unfortunately, she can't pick up the phone because at that moment she's also fending off zombies. Andre's mother returns home and asks her son to prepare Annie's baby food. She reminds him not to use tap water, only purified water from bottles. In the evening, Andre's mom starts feeling unwell. She also turns into a zombie and attacks her own son. Fortunately, he runs faster than her. Outside, the boy stumbles and falls. A car hits the zombie mom. It's Dan who has arrived. He advises the boy to go back home and lock the doors. The schoolboy does so, but he drags the zombie mom with him. Andre calls 911 and learns that his island is under quarantine. No one will come to rescue him. He locks his mom in the bathroom and tries to calm Annie down. In the city, there are some explosions, after which the electricity completely goes out. Pat calls her father and tells him she's hiding in the garage at her workplace. The man rushes to save his daughter. To do this, he has to fight off a couple of zombies. The new day dawns. Andre prepares food for his sister and checks on his zombie mom in the bathroom. She doesn't look good, becoming increasingly green and wanting to eat Annie. Andre lures her into a room with fresh greens and a TV falls on her there. He then returns the zombie mom to the bathroom. Now she looks even worse. Andre takes Annie, grabs a golf club, and opens the front door. Several zombies immediately chase after him, but he manages to escape from the house. Another group of zombies rushes after him, but Dan manages to save the boy. Together, they hide in the nearest supermarket. They need to come up with a plan. Crossing the river is not an option since there are no boats, and the water is too cold. Pat is locked inside one of the huge refrigerators. It seems her father didn't manage to save her in time, and she has also turned into a zombie. Dan believes she can still be be cured. Using makeshift tools, Dan starts a fire and turns on the radio. The host announces that a terrible virus has appeared on the island, which is likely transmitted through water. If the situation is not rectified, the island will undergo a cleansing operation. Dan calls the radio station and says there are still uninfected people here. They can't just wipe out the island. Andre feeds his sister warm yogurt. He says he wants to find out the cause of the infection and find a vaccine for this virus. The only thing known so far is that the virus is transmitted through water. Andre has only been drinking Coke, so he didn't get infected. During the day, Dan, his daughter, Andre, and his sister manage to escape from the supermarket. Pat has to wear an iron mesh on her head. Our heroes want to leave the city limits. Meanwhile, near the golf club, two almost identical girls in black appear. They have suitcases and weapons and easily deal with all the zombies. The radio host announces that they won't be rescuing the island for the sake of a few dozen survivors. To prevent the spread of the virus, the strictest measures need to be taken. The owner of the golf club pensively looks at the vial of bright green liquid. The killer women appear next to him. The man says he burned all the documents. They need to get rid of the fertilizer and burn all the grass, but the killer women decide to get rid of him too. They force feed him the vial of green liquid, knock him out, and drag him away. Our heroes arrive at the water treatment plant. They leave little Annie in the car. Pat runs away from her father and dives into the pool with brightly green, foul-smelling water. Dan goes after her, fights off more zombies, and tries to save his daughter. Unfortunately, all he's left with is her hand. The girl dives back. A group of zombies attacks Andre. The boy manages to hide in the car. Soon, Dan and Pat return there too. He did manage to get her out, though her hand now lies separately, and grass is inexplicably growing from it. It seems this virus gradually turns people into plants. Then Dan realizes that the mutation is somehow related to the green golf course. And it is. The killer women in gas masks scatter balls with some gas over the field. It seems their task is to destroy this dangerous grass. Soon, our heroes arrive there too. Dan climbs onto the roof and sneaks inside the building. He opens the door and lets the others in. The man locks his daughter in the cold room because she's too fragile and could easily break. Dan and Andre search for evidence of the crime. They enter the same room where the director was hiding and find the dog, which has turned into grass. Annie starts crying. Andre returns to his sister, and Dan continues searching. However, little Annie is nowhere to be seen. She has disappeared somewhere. Suddenly, Dan starts feeling unwell. It seems the virus is gradually reaching him too, and he also finds a bomb that is about to explode, but in the best traditions of Hollywood movies, he manages to disable it literally 2 seconds before the explosion. The killer women on the golf course notice that the bomb didn't go off and head towards the building. They enter the kitchen and see Annie holding a carrot. The little girl doesn't understand the danger she's in. One of the women pours out brightly green capsules in front of the child and suggests she eats them, and Annie does. The women hear Andre's voice nearby and leave the kitchen. Soon, our hero rushes in and takes his sister, not noticing anything suspicious. Meanwhile, Dan finally turns into a zombie. Andre meets the killer women in the corridor. They try to feed him the green poison, but at that moment, Annie turns into a zombie and bites one of the women on the finger. Zombie Dan appears, and he bites the second woman, then chases after Andre. The man catches up with the schoolboy, but doesn't bite him, perhaps thanks to Annie. Dan freezes like a tree. Andre finds a phone in his pocket and calls his own number. The killer women come to their senses. Both of them are infected, so they shoot each other. Andre finds his phone. He records a video for the rescue service and reports that zombies are mutant people attracted to water and sunlight, and grass grows from them. The boy asks to save his sister. She's turning green and will soon turn into a plant. The radio host announces that it's impossible. The mortality rate from this virus is 100%, so no one will be saved. Military helicopters appear in the sky. A cleanup team is sent to the island. The soldiers burn everything in their path. Andre comes out to them and raises his hands. The soldiers continue their work. Annie starts crying. It seems seeing all this has turned her back into an ordinary child. Andre hides from the military to avoid being caught in their flamethrower fire. Suddenly, Dan also stops being a zombie. The military burst into the room where he and Pat are sitting. They don't care if he's a zombie or not. They use the flamethrower again. Andre notices a boat on the river and begs them to help him. People take him on board, along with his little sister. They are saved. It seems Andre and Annie are the only ones who survived the cleanup. The authorities announce that the virus on the island has been eradicated. Andre throws Pat's hand into the water. It sinks to the bottom and becomes fish food. The moral is, go touch some grass before it touches you instead. And that's all for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave comments. Bye.